Okay, my little stream dashboard says I'm live, so I have no reason to not believe it. I seem to be live. uh, do the usual. Wait for people to come on in, if there are hopefully people who will come on in. What to talk about? I always say this, but the beginning of these streams are always very awkward because I have to wait for people to come in and I kind of have to bring something up to talk about to pass the time since no one is in the chat usually at the very beginning of these streams. Anyway, um, yeah, we're about to have a second term of Trump. um, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm sure some people will probably see the title of this stream and think it's me like screaming and crying or some shit, but I mean, not happy with the result. Obviously, I talked about not being happy with the result in my latest video, but ultimately, it is what it is. I'm not gonna fucking storm the Capitol or anything, like that just because my preferred candidate didn't win. Never let that go. By the way, notice how everyone who was um everyone who supported Kamala isn't screaming rigged election or planning a raid on the fucking Capitol. Kind of a stark difference between the two um, bases. Um, but yeah, this is. I mean, you can throw the blame at so many things. Like, or you could point the finger at so many things. You could say, "Oh, it was the radical left." They pushed the Democrats too far left, which is so fucking laughable. But I've unironically seen libs say that, or all these pro-Palestinian protesters sunk Kamala's campaign, or the three people that voted for Jill Stein. But ultimately, the blame lies, and I've already said this, but may as well reiterate it here. The blame lies on the DNC. They ran another campaign that did not entice their base at all. Kamala pretty much fucking said in one of the interviews, I think it was on The View, that she wouldn't differentiate, that she wouldn't deviate away from how Biden ran the country, which it's already it's already a point against you that you're associated with a very unpopular presidential administration, and then you're saying, "Well, I won't deviate away from said administration," which, I mean, way to put the final nail in the coffin for your campaign. Like, in hindsight, no shit, people weren't enticed to vote for Kamala because, again, didn't differentiate herself from Biden. She didn't provide any clear plan for how she would handle the economy. Early on, I had a lot of faith in the campaign. I mean, I never said it would be a slam dunk, but you know, things like the Tim Walz pick, which I may as well list off a bunch of his accomplishments here. Where's that Kyle Kalinske tweet? I have it in one of the tabs here because I knew I was going to talk about this. He had a one seat majority in Minnesota, but he was able to get free universal free school meals, legal weed, 12 weeks paid family leave, 12 weeks paid sick leave. He banned conversion therapy, instated red flag laws for guns, um, increased Minnesota infrastructure. Very very popular very popular policies among the people in Minnesota. He was a true populist. He was easily the best thing about Harris's campaign. He was the populist that Kamala really should have ran as. But they decided to neuter him. On top of being a great governor, he was also charismatic as fuck. He was the one who kickstarted the whole MAGA's weird talking point that really landed with much of the base and a lot of people who weren't paying attention much to politics. The guy just oozed charisma, but they decided to kind of hide him away and neuter him. Biden staffers got into the ear of the campaign, and I think even joined the campaign team. and and said, "Oh, the weird talking point is too negative. It alienates too many people. So instead, parade around with Dick and Liz Cheney, two very unpopular political figures among both Democrats and Republicans. But no, that's going to court this mythical silent majority Republican demographic that was anti-Trump. News flash: a lot of Republicans that were disillusioned by Trump still voted for him anyway. 95% of registered Republicans still voted for Trump. So, like, what does that say about your failed campaign strategy of trying to court Republicans into your base? Fail. Absolute fail. And I know I saw this comment when I woke up. Someone wrote in my latest video, I bet you don't think Tim Walz was a good VP pick now. Which, no, I still stand by him being a great VP pick. He just wasn't utilized enough. They didn't run a populist campaign, which they should have. They should have adopted more rhetoric that would have resonated with voters instead of, just instead of the campaign's messaging being essentially, "I'm not Donald Trump. Look at how bad Donald Trump is. I'm not going to differentiate myself from Biden either. I'm not going to propose any, substantive policy that will resonate a lot with voters. Instead, here's Taylor Swift and Beyonce and look at all these celebrities that support us instead of, actually paying attention to the working class." It's so frustrating. This fucking Democratic Party that never ever learns. I would hope the embarrassing loss the other night will be a wake up call for the party, but I highly doubt it will. I highly doubt it will. Anyway, that was a long ramble. Contrary to the title of this stream, I don't intend on just talking about politics in this stream. As always, I'm just beholden to whatever the fuck the chat wants to bring up. So if you want to talk about other things, I'll talk about other things. Or if you just want to keep talking about politics, I'll keep talking about politics. I don't really care either way because when have I ever fucking done a topic based stream? Well, I did once. I made a stream walking around in the park talking about Patreon being an e-begging gray area way back in the day, like in 2017, I believe. That stream is long gone because I deleted all of my pre 2020 live streams when one of those streams got me a community guideline strike a few years ago. But besides that, I never done a stream that had set topics. Sorry. So ever since I woke up a few hours ago, I've been clearing my throat constantly, so you might have to get used to that in this stream. Anyway, I don't think I've read a single chat message so far, so let me start reading the chat. Hello, Robert. How you doing today? I'm doing, I guess, fairly well. I mean, things are bleak when it comes to current events in this country, but my personal life, nothing new. Just same old, I suppose. Well, actually, tomorrow, my uncle who had a stroke, who has been in a rehabilitation center since July, will probably be coming to visit here in this house. My uncle from Jersey might drive him here, and that should be good. I mean, I've only visited him twice ever since the stroke, ever since he was put in a rehabilitation center, and it'll be good for him to see the house again. He's been making some good progress when it comes to learning how to walk again. He's able to bend his knee and he's been able to take a few steps, which is great. Unfortunately, his right arm that still can't move is still very much up in the air. Who knows if he'll ever regain usage of it, but you know, if only he took care of himself better, if only he listened to his doctor who told him to take his blood pressure medication and flat out warned him that he was on his way to a stroke or a heart attack, but he'd rather listen to con artists like Dr. Oz telling him he didn't need to take his blood pressure medication. Now look where he is. Terrible early birthday gift. Yeah, thank God my birthday isn't in November. Sad, just sad. After all those rights we fought for, this had to happen. Yeah, I mean, don't be surprised if you see, for example, a national abortion ban be implemented. Why should I have any reason to believe that a pathological liar like Trump would just still leave it up to the states? Do you think Wes Moore has a shot in 2028? I don't know who has a shot in 2028. I don't know who the Dems will put up. It ultimately depends on if they, learn a valuable lesson from how disastrous the other night was. Hey dude, been a while. Hello, Jeremy Sands. How you doing? Who do you think will run in 2028 or 2028? I don't know. I have a few guesses. None of them are candidates I particularly like, though. For the Democratic side, I could see people like Josh Shapiro or Gavin Newsom running, and I think Nikki Haley will probably give it another go in 2028 for the Republican side. When it comes to actual progressives, I don't know. And I mean, if a Bernie-like figure ends up becoming really popular in the primaries, don't be surprised if the DNC rat fucks that candidate, just like they did with Bernie twice. Yeah, we don't know what the future would hold. That's true, but I still don't have much faith in the future. But we'll see. It's not to say I don't think. Well, that's not to say I think the world will end or anything catastrophic like that. But all good here. That's good to hear, Robert. Tomorrow is my 28th birthday. Even though things are really bleak right now, just try to have a good birthday. Disconnect from all the negative shit in the world if you have to. It's your day. Enjoy it. I don't think we'll have a 2028. Well, like in general, you think the world will end before 2028 or just like a 2028 election? I don't want to get that dramatic. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't have a real election in 2028, but I don't think like the whole world will go on fire or anything. Or I don't know, maybe it will. I mean, with how climate change is exacerbating. But yeah, I wouldn't get that melodramatic. Hello, Penguin Zero. I've been chill. That's good to hear. Make a video about Henry Danger. What's Henry Danger again? Oh, Nickelodeon show. I don't know why I'd make a video about that though. Maturing is realizing that humanity sucks. I figured that out when I was like 12 years old, maybe a little younger than that. We as a species fucking suck. We're all fucking stupid. We're really not all that different from the apes at the end of the day. In fact, we're even more barbaric than pretty much every other animal species on this fucking planet. Do you think JD Vance really likes Trump, or is he just an opportunist? I think he's 100% an opportunist. I mean, look at all the anti-Trump quotes from him from the first Trump administration and before that. He called Trump Hitler. He said Trump would be horrible for the working class. He is 100% an opportunist. I wouldn't be surprised if they fucking sack Trump like a year into the president's in like a year into his term, and then JD, and then we get President Vance. Isn't that exciting? And at the same time, I think they're absolutely using Trump as a vehicle to, implement their extremism. The Republican Party and Heritage Foundation. I mean, we survived 4 years of Trump. We'll survive another 4 years. I have no doubt we'll survive. I just don't know about the state of this country in 4 years from now, especially since very, um, it's not off the table that Trump gets the House and the Senate, and he'll be completely unchecked. He'll have both chambers of Congress and the Supreme Court. And I have no doubt that Thomas and Alito will retire during Trump's term, and then Trump will implement some, put in some 40-year-olds in the Supreme Court that'll be there until like fucking 95 years old. So I really can't put any positive spin on the outcome of the other night. I took a break from the internet for a week to avoid political drama, not worth stressing or caring. Well, I did kind of unplug from, not political drama, but more so um, current events going on in this country and, political news stories for the past month or so. That doesn't mean I didn't care. It just meant that, constantly hearing about Trump's extremism, constantly stressing over polls that ended up being so far off, just wasn't worth it. It wasn't doing anything for my mental health besides damaging it. So why even, put myself through that when it's just worsening my mental health and is overall just a net negative? I mean, that doesn't mean I completely disconnected from current events. Like, I still got news alerts from my phone, and I would read articles and even make some videos about, you know, current events. Which I said this in one of my recent videos. I find kind of funny because I didn't really like hearing about politics, but at the same time, I still like talking about it on this channel because, I've said before, but this channel has always been a cathartic release for me. Even my most recent video, my reaction to Trump's victory, obviously I was very disheartened and frankly disgusted in this country. And I just let a lot of negative emotion out, lashing out at the DNC in that video. And I can't say I felt 100% better after recording that video, but I still felt a little better. And and even though it's been at the back of my mind ever since the other night, I have been distracting myself with other things. Like, for example, the other night I started my first playthrough of the original Resident Evil from the on the PS1. Only ever played the remake, the GameCube remake, before the other night. And while I still prefer the GameCube version, I still really enjoyed the OG. I finished Chris's campaign the other night, and I'm about finished with Jill's. I'm in the laboratory, so pretty much at the very end of the game. My comments keep getting deleted in the chat, and it's pissing me off. I've been noticing comments disappearing has been a much bigger issue on YouTube lately. There have been plenty of times where I get notifications for a new comment under one of my videos, and then I go check that video's comment section. I don't see it anywhere. I haven't set the comments to newest first, which a lot of the times YouTube, for whatever reason, hides comments from being in the um from appearing at the top, and you have to set the comment section to newest first to see those comments, but it doesn't even appear there either. I just find it I just find it really weird that all of a sudden um uh the comment section has somehow gotten even worse on YouTube. It's really annoying. Oh shit, what do you think's gonna happen to you guys for the next 4 years? Um, I don't know. I don't really. For me, I mean, I'm a cishet white dude living in New York City, so I'll probably be fine. It's just the minorities and marginalized groups that are routinely attacked by the GOP and the Trump administration really that I really fear for, especially those who live in deep red states or not solid blue states at the very least. I really feel for all of those people. It's going to be a rough 4 years. I mean, I really can't sugarcoat it. I don't really know what positive message I could spin, but I can't muster any up besides, you know, well, persevere. That's all you could really do. It's utterly disturbing how many Hispanics voted for Trump. They're betraying their own kind. Yeah, Trump was up by with Latino men specifically by like what 10 points over Kamala. Wild. But I guess I shouldn't be that surprised since Latinos tend to be very conservative. And there's a lot of Latinos in this country who want to differentiate themselves from those dirty illegals when in reality, those quote unquote illegals or, just people crossing the border in general are people are there family members who crossed over here to this country, you know, and that's how you ended up being fucking born in this country. Like my family, my mom and my uncles, for example, they are very big on closing up the border, not letting anyone else in. And I'm like, you're the sons and daughter of two Ecuadorians who came over to this country because they couldn't find they wanted better opportunities than what their home country provided. You wouldn't fucking be in this country right now complaining about the border and the illegals if it weren't for them coming over here first. It's so frustrating. Donald's a goof, Kamala's a goof. Doesn't goof mean pedo? Which I don't think Kamala is. I mean, Trump with his Epstein ties, maybe, but I don't think Kamala is one. The video was pretty good, even though you were very emotional. You still were able to form your thoughts coherently, and I agree with what you said in it. Uh, Thank you. um, yeah, I was expecting that video to get a lot more hate than it ended up getting. I mean, I still do have some Trumpers in that comment section. Again, I mentioned one that was like, "I bet you don't like Tim Walz now," which again, I think he was still the best part of Kamala's campaign easily. And another one saying an insurrection didn't happen. You're spreading misinformation, which okay, all right, yeah. The storming of the Capitol totally didn't happen. He was emotional. I thought that's how he normally talks. It was a little bit more emotional than I usually am in my videos in that specific video because I was really mad at the DNC for fumbling yet another election that should have been a slam dunk on paper, but they just couldn't because they can't move away from, you know, preaching about the status quo, not enticing their voter base. And it's really frustrating because Trump got roughly around the same amount of votes he got in 2020. He got 75 million votes in 2020. He has around, last I checked, 73 million. Let me look at the electoral map again. Yeah, 73 million. Maybe he'll break 74 million because Nevada and Arizona are still being counted, which those states are going to go to him anyway. But he got around the same amount of votes he did last time around, so he obviously has a cap of around 70 million votes. But Kamala could not entice the 10 million plus of people who voted for Biden last time around to vote again for her, to vote for her this year. Because again, she just couldn't sell it. She just couldn't run a populist campaign because she was shackled. Well, I mean, she is very much a corporate dem herself, but initially her campaign was very populist. Again, the Tim Walz pick. They were also constantly on the offense against MAGA, which was very refreshing to see since, usually the Democrats allowed themselves to be dog walked by the Republicans. But then Biden staffers got into her campaign's ear. They really neutered all of that in favor of running a more centrist campaign, much in the same vein as Hillary's campaign. And they just fumbled the ball. It also doesn't help that Kamala only had, 4 months to campaign? This all goes back to Biden too. He should have stepped aside. Who in their right fucking mind thought that Biden could withstand another 4 years in office? His brain was already soup in 2020. His brain deteriorated even more in these last 4 years, very noticeably. And it got to the point where no one could fucking deny it anymore. It was right front and center in front of everyone's eyes after that horrible debate back in June. If Biden stepped aside over a year ago and we had a normal primary and whoever won that primary had way more time to refine their message and way more time to figure out how they could resonate with the electorate, I don't know if that would have been a slam dunk. I don't know if they definitely would have won against Trump, but they definitely would have had a better shot. And I don't think the other night would at the very least be as embarrassing as it ended up being. Again, this political party, man, holy fucking shit. Once again, completely forget where the fuck I left off in the chat because I usually go on these really long tangents. I think here. I'm still in surprise. The most mysterious song on the internet got solved. I would be paying more attention to that if it didn't happen literally right before election night, and if the results weren't as disastrous as they were. But moving away from that for a little bit, yeah, it is really cool that song ended up being found. I honestly thought for sure it wasn't going to be found. I figured it was some very obscure demo from some very obscure band somewhere in Europe that no one was going to find because there would be no record of them on the internet. But lo and behold, internet sleuths prove once again that, with enough dedication, you can find these incredibly obscure, otherwise forgotten to time tracks. At least it wasn't in a porn movie this time. Uh, it's still fucking hilarious with the ulterior motive song. From looking out your window, it doesn't seem like it hasn't gotten so dark so soon. The camera might make it look like it's brighter than it is outside, but it actually is kind of dark, or pretty dark, I should say, outside. And that's why I already have the light on. The weather so far in November has been fucking crazy. The other day, it was almost 80 degrees. I actually had to bring my fan back out from the garage, which I've never had to do before in November. Again, climate change, and I expect climate change to be even worse with another 4 years of Trump, but no one cares ultimately. Hello, Nintendo, and how you doing? I'm a Hispanic cishet female living in a red state. I'm screwed. You may want to stock up on contraceptives while you still can, because the Republican Party, they don't view you as anything else besides a breeding machine that has no autonomy on her own body and doesn't deserve reproductive rights. Are we heading in such a great direction in this country? It was hard for me to sit in class on Wednesday because of the election results. They were stressing the hell out of me. Yeah, I was constantly refreshing my the page on Google showing the election results. I gotta say though, even though the worst possible result did end up happening, my Discord server was pretty annoying um during election night. Like even when Trump won the states, you knew he was without a doubt going to win. There were still some people in there like, I'm afraid, we're doomed, Trump is going to win. And I'm like, it's way too fucking early to say that. Fuck. Remember 2020? The red mirage? When it initially looked good for Trump and then all the mail in ballots came in for Biden? Again, I know the worst possible result still did end up happening, so I understand why people were so apprehensive, but come the fuck on. People were saying that and it was only like 8 o'clock. Lesbian trans women in Georgia. Woman in Georgia. I'm scared even though I'm closeted. Well, I mean, I hope you get out of there someday soon. I live in Indiana, by the way, so I'm afraid that prawn will become illegal. Well, I mean, that is part of Project 2025, a nationwide porn ban. Will that be implemented? Who knows? Time will tell, but I guess start looking at VPNs right away if that's a big deal to you. Hey, how's it going, Mikey? Just got back from my pharmacist. Again, like I said earlier in this stream, I'm doing okay, despite the very bleak current events in this country. But again, I'm doing relatively okay when it comes to my personal life. Like I said, my uncle who had a stroke might be coming to visit tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to seeing him. Like I said, I only visited him in the rehabilitation center twice since He's been in there since August. Um, Also, don't think I mentioned this earlier in stream. My other uncle who lives with me, he went to the dentist last week, and then leaving the dentist, I guess the sidewalk, the curb was elevated, and then he tripped over the curb. He really hurt one hand, his one arm, his left arm, because he tried to use that to break his fall, and the other arm, his shoulder got dislocated, so his arm has been in a splint ever since. So I've had to help him out a lot. Not, I'm not complaining, obviously. I mean, there's a lot of things he can't do now with one arm, but yeah, that's just unacceptable. He's looking into suing over that. And after this stream ends, I got to go to the store with him. Obviously, he can't carry anything, so I got to help him out with the groceries he buys and cat litter and such. I saw people in Trump hats at the grocery store today. Well, I bet there's a lot of people in Trump hats right now. I'm sure they're on cloud nine. I gotta go for now. See you, Dylan. Even though you probably left like 20 minutes ago. And I saw someone driving by with Trump 2024 and fuck liberal flags on their truck. Yeah, you see, well, I don't see a lot of that here in NYC, but I've seen a lot of pictures of trucks like that just completely covered with Trump signs, Trump flags. And I'm like, do you ever see anything comparable to that when it comes to the Democrats? Like maybe you'll see like a little Trump Paris sticker on someone's trunk or some shit, but nothing to that effect. Like for some people, their support for Trump is like their entire personality. And I find that really concerning because obviously it's just another scumfuck politician at the end of the day. Well, he's uniquely bad in several ways, but it's still. If this country wasn't messed up, Trump would have been disqualified and in a prison cell after January 6th. He absolutely would have. If this country were sane, he would never be allowed to hold any position of power in this country ever again. But lo and behold, the rich and powerful never face any adequate consequences for their actions. So he was allowed to run again, and look, he won. Aren't we such a. Isn't this country functioning so great? I hope the CIA Lost Wave gets found next. It's another 80s song from the radio recorded from a Canadian station. Well, I don't really. I mean, I'm fascinated with lost media, but I've never really kept up too much with the Lost Wave community besides, the obvious big ones like the most mysterious song now officially called Subways of Your Mind or something like that, and Ulterior Motives, you know, the two biggest Lost Wave songs easily. So I don't know if I've heard this CIA song you're referencing. I mean, I'm 18 and I'm not married yet, so I never had contraceptives. I live in Florida, by the way. Well, I mean, you don't necessarily need to be married to have sex, but, I'm just saying, even still, you never know when you might need them and you might not be able to access them sometime soon. Ooh, you live in Florida. My condolences. I'd advise any halfway decent person at the very least to get the fuck out of Florida at this point. I mean, they voted down abortion on the ballot. I mean, I know it got close to passing. It needed 60% of the votes and it failed to get that. It failed to reach that. But still, it really that state is far gone, man. Oh my god, I feel sorry for anyone living down there, which includes my grandmother, but I don't think she really needs to worry about abortion or reproductive rights when it comes to herself. If we stick together as a nation, we can overthrow Trump just like the colonists did to the British. I guess that ultimately depends on how awful Trump's second term will be, but I don't know if we'll overthrow him. I mean, he's got the fucking military behind him. Even if we get a conservative prime minister in Canada, our abortion rights are luckily safe. Well, even though Canada is no doubt shifting to the right, they still are at least marginally better than us on social issues and basic human rights than this country is. It must be a more American issue. Well, I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of religious people in Canada, but Christian nationalism is really on the rise in this country, and and Christianity in general has a stranglehold on so many politicians in this country, and they base their morality around their religion, and they think it's a sin to terminate your baby, and therefore therefore reproductive rights should not be a thing in this country. And I fucking hate my neighbor riding in that stupid fucking bike up the hill every fucking day, going around the block in a circle. Whatever. I don't even know if the mic picked that up. And he's not my next door neighbor or anything. He lives around the corner from me. I saw a bunch of Trump flags and signs on the ride to the grocery store. Yeah, I mean, well, it's Georgia. I'm not really surprised about that. I mean, there's a house right around me that has a Trump sign in front of it. But I do live in a pretty red district in NYC, unfortunately, but not like I really talk to many people, so it's not like I really have to um, deal with the Trump supporters who live around here. And because I live in Indiana, I could potentially buy assault rifles and drum mags, luckily. I definitely do advise anyone who is part of any marginalized community routinely attacked by the GOP to buy self defense weapons. Because, you never know with how brazen and mask off bigoted the GOP and its base are getting. Speaking of trucks, I saw a Cybertruck the other day and it is ugly as hell. I never saw a car that ridiculous looking. I know it is fucking hideous. Like I said before, it looks like a fucking video game artifact that that didn't render properly in real life. Like it is so goofy looking. You look at that truck and then you look at all of the other cars that are right around it and the other trucks that are right around it, and it just sticks out in the worst way imaginable. I don't know who in their right mind would want to ride in that fucking thing. It's an ego mobile. I mean, it's rich people who think their money can buy them personality, so they buy the fucking goofiest looking truck in existence, and they think they stand out. They think they're so unique when no, you just look like a fucking goofball in that thing. MAGA rap is cringe. I haven't heard much MAGA rap, but The little I've heard, yeah, it is pretty cringe. I'm getting out of Florida actually next year, but it's yet another red state, Georgia. Well, Georgia isn't great, but I think living in any state at this point is better than living in Florida. So. Oh yeah, how about that Iowa poll, the Seltzer poll that it didn't predict that Kamala was going to win, but her favorability in Iowa in that poll was up by like what 3? It was 3%, and Trump ended up winning that state with. Let me look at the electoral map again. He won Iowa by 14 points. Kamala 42.7%, Trump 56%. Well, more so closer to 13 points, but still. Jesus, that is the most off that poll has ever been. The Seltzer polls are usually very, very accurate. Even if they're wrong, they're usually wrong by like 1 or 2 points, but that is wild. Jesus. I guess I shouldn't be that surprised. I don't have the highest opinion on Iowa either. I don't know how anyone can think he's better than crap Mala. Well, Kamala's campaign was kind of crap, and I'm not a fan of her as a candidate. And I don't really like how hidden she was during her tenure as vice president up until a few months ago. But yeah, I mean, fucking a used condom would have been a better candidate than Trump. And even though I wasn't the biggest fan of her campaign, she still ran a better campaign than Trump. I mean, Trump still did do better in the sense that he had a clear message and did address issues that many voters had with this country, like, for example, the economy, even though his solution was just implementing more tariffs, which would increase inflation by tenfold. But, voters are fucking stupid, so they don't really know much when it comes to policy. They just hear a plan and they're like, okay, I'll go for it. But still, Kamala's ground game was much better. She campaigned way more in consequential states than Trump did. And Trump was just going off the deep end with the extremism in the last few months. But that still didn't sink him. Again, Kamala's campaign wasn't great, but Trump's, Jesus Christ. But he still won the presidency. It also doesn't help that the right has a much better media apparatus than the left does. I mean, I looked at this graphic the other day on Reddit about the most watched streamers covering the election, and all of them except for one were right wing. There were people like Steven Crowder, Ben Shapiro, Benny Johnson on there, which I guess they don't technically qualify as streamers since they're more like political pundits, but still. And I think the only leftist that was there was Hassan, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but he's really the closest thing to rivaling all these other big conservative figureheads. Have you heard of Indonesia? Well, of course I have. It is basically the USA of Asia. There is bigotry there as well, including LGBTQ bigotry. Yeah, I know Indonesia isn't great when it comes to social issues either. A lot of countries aren't. Let me get in a more comfortable position for a second. Ooh, now I feel a little better. Oh yeah, Nirvana shirt. This is a new shirt in utero. For the longest time, I had the generic smiley face Nirvana shirt, which I still have and I still like, but In Utero is my favorite Nirvana album, and when I saw this in Target, I was like, I want that, and I bought it. Nevermind is a great album too, and I would get a shirt of that album, but I'd feel a little weird wearing that shirt, so no. And plus, also In Utero is my favorite Nirvana album anyway. Bleach is good too, but I don't really go back to that album as much, and I much prefer the other two albums anyway. The Cybertruck looks like it was ripped from a PlayStation 1 game. It does. It really does. Because of how brazen the GOP is, the Second Amendment, which they constantly meat ride, might lead to their demise. Who fucking knows? It's funny how they're always fucking jacking off to guns, but the second uh, someone who is a minority takes a picture with a gun or talks about guns, they're like, "Oh, they're a thug," or "Oh, they're gonna shoot people, innocent people." The double standard is so hilarious. Does that mean Texas is better than Florida? Yeah, Florida is like the fucking Florida is just a lost cause at this point. Texas is getting more people from blue states from California, for example, moving in. So there is a demographic shift in Texas. I didn't think Texas was going to go blue this election cycle or anything like that, but it's not off the table in future election cycles. Maybe like maybe like two election cycles from now, we might see a blue Texas with more and more liberals moving into the state. So I don't view Texas as a complete lost cause like I do Florida. Florida's like a fucking sponge for these, boomer retiree MAGA types. A lot of them moved in during the pandemic because DeSantis was just letting his fucking constituency die because he didn't want to implement any mandates or, he didn't care about COVID at all. Again, my condolences to anyone who lives in Florida. Again, if you're even just a halfway decent person, get the fuck out of there if you have the resources to do so. I don't plan to live in Florida forever. I hope you get out of there sometime soon. I live in Alberta, the Texas of Canada. Well, I mean, I don't know. Probably still at least marginally better than a lot of states in this country. Haven't kept up with YouTube drama much this year. Anybody you're able to find for worst YouTubers of 2024? Well, I'm not going to spoil the list. I'll actually still have to compile the list, which I usually do around this time of the year. Um, I have a bunch of YouTubers written down in the notes app in my iPhone that are potential contenders for my worst YouTubers list. Last year I had like 20 plus YouTubers in that list, and then I compiled it down to 10 and then two dishonorable mentions. This year I don't have as many YouTubers though, potential YouTubers to include in that list, because outside of like Mr. Beast, there hasn't really been, at least from what I've observed, that many instances of drama, or at least many interesting instances of drama. I've also just not been keeping up with the YouTube drama that much these last few months since, election season being in full swing and all. But yeah, I mean, I just think in terms of YouTube drama, this year has been a lot more dry than last year. Last year was Jesus Christ. I never had so many potential contenders for a worst YouTubers list. It was never a pandemic, by the way. I just said that as a joke. Oh, well, I forget what your message was, but I probably just misread pandemic as pandemic. It's basically 2016 2.0, except this time he got the popular vote too. The one thing I take solace in, and I mentioned this before, he got around the same amount of votes he did last time, which is concerning in and of itself. I mean, that shows that the 70 million people who voted for him last time still wanted to vote for a convicted felon, someone who incited an insurrection, someone who said that he's going to go after the enemy within, and all of these horrible, horrible things. They still wanted to vote for him, so I guess that is still bleak in itself. But it shows that Trump still has a cap of around 70 million votes. And I think I plan on talking about this in a video sometime in the near future. But it's just that Kamala didn't entice the 10 million plus people who also voted for Biden to vote for her this time around. So that's why I attribute the catastrophic night to a failure on the DNC's part rather than, the electorate mostly voting for Trump. Or he was talking about Hannibal Lecter being this great American. Yeah, I forgot about that. Trump just says so many outlandish and stupid things, it's hard to keep up with all of it and remember all of it. I'm not sorry. The left needs their own turning point, Daily Wire, date, right stuff. I don't know what that is. They need to do better. They absolutely need to do better. I mean, the left definitely needs a stronger media apparatus, like the right has. But the right is funded by billionaires, and that's how they have such a stranglehold um, on independent media. Independent media, I should put that in quotes, because if you're funded by like the Koch brothers or brother and Elon Musk and all of these other billionaires or Peter Thiel, you're not exactly independent. People that deck their cars out with political merchandise are a joke in my eyes. I don't have any political merchandise, unless you want to count the little "I voted" stickers I got from 2020 and the special election earlier this year in my district, and obviously this past election. That's all I have in my room. I like those little stickers, but that I don't think that really counts as merchandise when you're getting it directly from your city, and it's not affiliated with any specific campaign. Yeah, I don't have a Harris Walls T-shirt in my dresser or anything because I don't really like making my politics be my personality. And especially, I don't want my fucking personality to be based around corporate Dems. Well, Walls is definitely a step up from your average corporate Dem, but Kamala, yeah. How many worst YouTubers do you have as contenders so far? I have to count. I honestly don't know. I just know it's not as much as last year. Because again, partially it's because I haven't been keeping up with YouTube drama as much lately. Because again, election season. I'd like to think that um, current events and our political landscape in this country takes precedence over stupid YouTube drama. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. So Just a little over the usual 10 I have. Some of these names I don't even remember what the fuck these people did though. So I gotta look up some of these people again. Since I look at Reddit pretty often, I should probably subscribe to the YouTube drama subreddit to keep at least, some tabs on current YouTube drama and find some good potential contenders for my worst YouTubers list, but at the same time I also don't want to see that shit on my feed. I think that's part of the reason why more Gen Z males voted for Trump. The blame also falls with misogynistic influencers like Trafficking Tate. Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, we've seen the other night that the misinformation machine online works. It's very depressing, but that's just the landscape we live in. We don't live in an age where people value facts and reason. They just vote based off of their angry emotions and vote based off of, misinformation they hear on social media that are being peddled by people like Elon Musk, which is a perfect reason to never post on Twitter again. I don't plan on fucking posting on that shithole anymore. It was already bad for the last 2 years he's owned the site, but it's going to get so much worse, I promise you, when Trump gets in office. I can go days without looking at Twitter now, and I think my mental health is so much better off not looking at Twitter. Andrew Tate is out of order. Rigged election 2024 by billionaires Elon, Russia, deep state. President Harris was robbed. Don't accept it, reject it. Don't you ever give up. Well, there goes me saying that there's no Democrats contesting the results. Dude, as much as if there is any tangible evidence that comes out that Trump did rig the election, sure, that needs to be investigated. But good luck having the fucking ineffective Democrats do anything about that. But I think it is more likely that he just won fair and square. Again, he got around the same amount of votes he got in 2020. It's not like he got something completely fucking crazy, like 100 million votes. So please don't do that shit. Again, unless there is tangible evidence that comes out that there was in fact collusion, he won fair and square. I'm sorry. Wore a Beatles shirt today with the logo on the front and back, the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band logo on the back. I have some Beatles shirts. I have a Let It Be shirt. And then I have another shirt that just has the Beatles logo on the front. Don't have a Sgt. Pepper shirt. Should probably get a Sgt. Pepper shirt. Sgt. Pepper isn't my favorite Beatles album, but it probably has my favorite Beatles album cover. But there's also Abbey Road too, which is just such an iconic and great album cover. So it rivals that, but I think Sgt. Pepper might have the edge. Remember when they tried saying the Latino shooter in Texas was trans? I do remember that. I made a video about that. Get ready for, well, I mean, I shouldn't say get ready. The right has been doing that every time a mass shooting has happened, even though aside from that one instance where I think a trans man shot up a private school or something like that last year, every mass shooter has been a cishet white dude for the most part. That's going to be the new video games caused this mass shooting talking point. I heard Trump may look into banning violent video games. Who knows if that's going to happen, but there goes the gamer vote if that ends up happening. I wonder how shitheads like Asmongold would spin that. I was on Instagram Reels and I randomly got a post from the Daddy05 kids all grown up, and I saw a comment on the video that said something like, "Y'all are soft if you think the daddy abused the kids." Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of fucking idiots online, and I think I've seen that before. People defending Daddy05 and saying, "Oh, if you think this was abuse, you're just soft." Yeah, fuck you. Proper authorities intervened. They concluded that what was showcased in those videos was indeed abuse. Got the two kids out of that house. The two kids that the wife in the videos didn't birth. Um, and yeah, that's all the proof you need that those videos were indeed abuse. There's just a lot of disgusting people online who will defend the most disgusting shit, and I'm so sick of it. Like that video I made about what's her name, Christy Gnome shooting a dog. I got a bunch of right wing chos in the comment section saying, "So what if she shot a dog? It's just a dog. Why are you so emotional? Imagine getting this upset over a dog." Yeah, okay, thank you for your input, sociopath. Date right stuff is a conservative dating app. Oh, oh yeah, I think I heard of that. It's like the conservative, it's version of Tinder or some shit, right? Dating apps. I have a Tinder account, but I haven't. I only used it a couple of times when my dad urged me to use it. And I was like, okay, I'll try this out and maybe I'll hook up with someone. Who knows? But that never ended up happening. I lost interest relatively quickly. Because believe it or not, I don't really care that much about having a partner. The guy who is the face for Date Right Stuff makes these really cringy TikToks to promote the app. He's allegedly a groomer too, huh? How surprising. Let me guess, he also talked about being against the epidemic of gay and trans groomers. It's always projection. I saw those TikToks on Instagram and he's so cringy. I think I might have seen some TikToks from the guy you're talking about, but I'm not entirely sure. Because I don't use TikTok, like I've said before. Sometimes I wonder if the trans people or groomers bullshit is just projection. It is projection. It absolutely is projection. You have so many instances of people going on and on about gay groomers, about trans groomers, and saying the LGBTQ plus community as a whole is made up of groomers. And then you find out these people peddling this bullshit, like seemingly 9 times out of 10, have had inappropriate interactions with kids themselves or have even done horrific things to kids themselves. It is always fucking projection. I wouldn't be surprised if someday in the future we hear horror stories about Matt Walsh concerning children. That guy just oozes like creeper vibes. I mean, he literally said in one of his stupid segments, talking about some book teaching kids about consent, saying, "Well, I violate my kids' consent all the time." Like, is that really someone we shouldn't bat an eye towards? 2026 marks 10 years of worst YouTubers list. Oh yeah, that's true. 2016 was the first year I started doing that. It's funny that worst YouTubers list was just an idea I came up with like a day or two before I actually uploaded the video. I had to really rush that rush that video out because I wanted to upload it on New Year's Eve. Yeah, I have no doubt I'll still be making these worst YouTubers videos in 2026. Only do them once a year. Can't believe we're already in November. I was thinking about this the other day. I can't believe in less than a month from now I'll be beginning work on my next worst YouTubers list. Jesus. I do know who I'm going to put as the worst YouTuber of 2024 though. Surprise, surprise, it's another obscure YouTuber who did something absolutely horrific. Like it seemingly always is. I never liked putting obvious people in the worst spot though. Like I could easily put like Mr. Beast or some shit as the worst YouTuber of 2026, 2024. But one, there are people who did way more monstrous things than he did. And two, it's just way too obvious. Maybe he'll be put in the list, but he certainly wouldn't be the worst YouTuber on that list. But you shall see in less than 2 months from now. I've been watching your channel since 2017. I was 10 or 11. Holy shit, I didn't know you were around for that long. I thought you only started watching me a few years ago. Thank you for watching my content for as long as you have. I always really like reading comments like that. And people say, "Oh, I've been watching you since I was like 10 or and I'm an adult now and still watch your videos." It's always really flattering. In the days leading up to the election, Trump's campaign took over the trending tabs with promoted trends. What on Twitter? I wouldn't know because I haven't been looking at Twitter, and once again, my mental health is not to say it's only Twitter that bogs down my mental health, but I've noticed I've been a little happier after mostly cutting Twitter out of my life. Most of the time, when I come across a stupid tweet, it's because someone posted a screenshot of said tweet on Reddit. That's what I look at these days. Haha, Redditor, you're soy, or whatever the fuck, whatever. 2026 also marks 250 years of this country. What a depressing anniversary. Maybe that'll be the year this country just implodes or some shit. I think we've had a a long enough run. 250 years seems to be a long enough time of this country existing, I guess. At least you're not denying that Trump won the election. Yeah, I don't really see the point in denying that Trump won the election fair and square. It's no different than what his supporters did 4 years ago. Say that he actually won the election with no substantive evidence whatsoever. It was just them kicking and screaming that they lost and they couldn't put their adult pants on and, you know, take their loss like an adult. And yeah, I don't wanna see um, um, Democrats do the same thing. It was stupid when MAGA did it 4 years ago, and it's stupid for whatever Democrat may be doing that same thing right now. Again, unless real, tangible, substantial evidence comes out that Trump actually did somehow rig the election, I am going to believe that he won the election fair and square because I have no reason to not believe he didn't win the election fair and square, and this country is just really that fucking stupid. In the 2000s, they were blaming video games. In the 2010s, they were blaming weed. Now they're blaming transgenders on shootings. They're always going to find some scapegoat to get out of acknowledging that we need stricter gun laws in this country. So many people on social media have no sympathy nowadays. Every time someone calls out bullying, you will just think people will just think you're yapping or some shit, or they'll say something stupid like bullying makes you tougher. I was bullied and that made me a tougher person. So why can't you just fucking endure your own bullying? Which, you know, you may be a callous shithead, but that doesn't mean anyone else who is on the receiving end of bullying isn't also a callous shithead. I'm gonna take a bong toke. Cheers. They just want the kids for themselves. That's why I don't usually like making judgments, but Matt Walsh gives me the creeps just looking at him. He gives me the creeps too. From both just looking at him and what he says. Oh, yeah, and he also just blatantly said on Twitter the other day, yeah, Project 2025 is actually the agenda. Now we can finally admit it. At least you're finally being honest. Why does this country hate women so much? Because we are so behind other Western countries in terms of um, social issues. It's just really sad. Look at all these retracted messages. Just place Mr. Beast in the honorable mentions. Maybe I will, or maybe he'll take up an actual spot. We shall see. I also haven't actually been keeping up that much with the Mr. Beast drama. And obviously, I can't talk about it in full because that would be like a fucking 3 hour segment, probably. When I usually just talk about each YouTuber for like 5 minutes. So I'll probably just focus on the worst shit I read about. Because it's kind of hard because some of the YouTubers I put in these lists have lore that's like as long as the fucking Bible. And I have to condense all that shit down to like 5 minutes. So I have to gloss over a lot of shit and just focus on what I think is the worst, what I think are the worst things they've done. Message retracted. I was 11 when I started watching you in 2017, and now I'm 18. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, again, I've gotten quite a few people who say, "Oh, I've been watching you since I was a kid," and here I am. I'm like 20 years old now, and I'm still watching you, which again is very flattering, especially for the people who have been watching me since like the Meverse days when they were kids, and they're still watching me like 10 years later or almost 10 years later. Now they're an adult, and they've essentially grown up with my content pretty much. It's just again, it's just flattering. Don't really know how else to put it. Oh crap, next month marks 10 years since I first spoke with you on Meverse. Really, was it actually December of 2014 we started talking to each other? That's cool. Yeah, not many people I spoke to 10 years ago on Meverse I still speak to these days. There's you, Justin, and that's pretty much it. uh, yeah, probably. EDP is a Trump supporter, more of a reason to hate him. Yeah. Again, and it's always the people you expect to be. It's always the groomers who support the most heinous fucking people. I still can't get over his Dante Wright video that he made like right before the sting up, where he was like, Dante Wright is a criminal. He smoked weed, so therefore him being gunned down by the police was justified. Yeah, like smoking weed is somehow worse than trying to hook up with someone who you thought was a 13-year-old and you wanted to meet up with them and eat them out and other disgusting things you planned on doing with them had they been a real 13-year-old girl. Disgusting, man. Also, I lost my old account because it used my school email that's no longer in service. So, can I join your server on a new account? Oh, yeah, sure. I guess that explains why you haven't been posting on Discord lately. Were you that person who joined my server earlier today? I saw there was someone who joined and then they almost immediately left because the verification bot kicked them out. That was you. I apologize. I'll let you in. Um, Probably after this stream. Because right now I'm not looking at Discord. I got a few Discord notifications while streaming, but I haven't read them. I think some of them were just add everyone notifications from other servers. I don't look at much though. For me, it's interesting to see how you've changed over the years. Yeah, I would say my views on quite a few things have evolved a lot these last 10 years. I mean, if someone just stays stagnant for 10 goddamn years, I mean, well, one, that's kind of impossible. Your opinions on things are bound to change, and your perspective on things, certain things at least, are bound to change in a decade. But yeah, I mean, I don't really get anyone these days saying this, but I remember around the time I started being more vocal with my political beliefs, I was like, some people were like, why are you talking about politics? Why can't you just stick to talking about bad fan bases or YouTube drama or gaming videos, which I still do the YouTube drama and gaming videos from time to time. They're not the focus of my channel anymore, obviously, but I'm not 15, I'm not 16 anymore. Interests change, and if I if I was just stuck doing the same content despite me not being interested in making that content anymore or at least not as much, then I would have quit YouTube years ago. This channel is ultimately a reflection of what I am personally interested in. And if people are interested in what I want to talk about, cool. But if they're not, they're more than free to leave. I'm not going to be beholden to what other people want to see on this channel. Because again, ultimately, this channel reflects what I am interested in talking about. I don't really like content creators who pander too much to their audience and are afraid to make certain types of videos because they know they'll receive backlash from their audience, which, I mean, I kind of sound like I'm talking from a pedestal because I've never really seen any dramatic sub loss or loss of audience, which, I mean, maybe I did lose quite a bit of people who were watching me back then. They've just been substituted with people who enjoy the content I make now. But still, part of the fun of this channel for me is just talking about whatever the fuck I want. And if people enjoy that, cool. If people don't, well, again, they're free to unsubscribe. Not not chaining anyone. I'm not breaking anyone's arm to watch me or to keep watching me. I heard there were bomb threats from Russia in Democratic areas during election night. Well, I don't know if that alone was what caused Trump to win, but yeah, that I have heard there have been some bomb threats, and that's just absolutely disgusting. And again, any sane country that has, any sane country would have barred someone like Donald Trump from running years ago, especially after he incited his base to storm the goddamn Capitol because he lost an election fair and square. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Trump himself was surprised that he won fair and square, because there have been leaks that his internal polls were really bad and he was panicking and his team was panicking, and he seemed to be priming his base to reject the results of the election. On election day, he tweeted something on Truth Social, something along the lines of, there's a lot of fraud going on in Philadelphia that needs to be investigated. It seemed like he thought for sure he was going to lose Pennsylvania, and then he was probably like, "Oh shit, I just won legitimately." Forget that then. Yeah, some guy was spamming E in the chat, but he deleted them, so I'm not sure if he was a troll or not. Oh. Well, I didn't see them because I like going through every message I see in this chat in order, and sometimes I spend minutes rambling in response to a chat message, so yeah, I didn't see what they said or what they deleted. It's like people these days have the mindset of elementary schoolers. Yeah, that's about the level of intelligence a lot of MAGA possess. I wasn't from that far back, but I did start in 2017. Yeah, I know you specifically started watching me in 2017, but I was just saying in general, there are some people who still watch me that have been watching me since even before 2017. And that's not to say I don't appreciate anyone watching me from 2017 onwards less or anything. It's just that, I I'm again really flattered by the people who have stuck around for like 10 or 9 years and are still watching me, and they've kind of evolved with me over that course of time. Sadly, I don't think this country will have a female president, at least not anytime soon. Hell, this might be crazy, but I wouldn't be surprised if the first female president is a Republican. The Republican base love their tokens. They love to pay attention to black people who reaffirm their viewpoints, or gay people that reaffirm their viewpoints, or trans people that reaffirm their viewpoints. I don't know for sure if they would elect a woman, but I wouldn't be surprised if a woman who validates their misogyny and bigotry in general ends up someday winning the presidency. Who would that be? I don't know, maybe Tulsi Gabbard. Well, I kind of doubt that. Nikki Haley, maybe. December 2014 is when me and my brother upgraded to the Wii U from the Wii. I upgraded to the Wii U 2 years before that. I got my Wii U on Christmas of 2012. It's kind of crazy how different my online life, at least, would be had I never gotten a Wii U. Maybe I would still be doing YouTube, but I certainly wouldn't have gotten my start making Miiverse videos, and I'd probably have completely different people watching me right now. Maybe aside from the people who have started watching me in recent years and got into my channel through the political content and such, but certainly the people who have stuck around for a very long time wouldn't be watching me now because they probably wouldn't have probably would have never heard of me. Speaking of Miiverse, I did find a video that I recorded back in 2017 that was a short little teaser for a Miiverse rant I did back then. I forget which rant it was specifically, or if I even did end up making that video, but I did the little and I said new Miiverse video coming soon, and it was just a video of me filming my gamepad, showcasing that I got a bunch of admin notifications. I was thinking it was a video that I know I uploaded on my long defunct Google Plus community. Remember Google Plus? I don't either. Shithole. But yeah, I uploaded that onto there, and I still have it saved in Google Photos, and I came across it recently, and I was originally going to upload that on my side channel, but I figured why not take a break from from talking about the bleak shit in this country and upload that on my main channel. Maybe I'll upload it tomorrow or Sunday. We'll see. It's only like 30 seconds long. And plus I did upload that video I recorded on my 3DS back in 2015 onto my main channel earlier this year, so why not upload that on my main as well? I'm sure the few people who still stuck around, who have stuck around since those days, will find it nostalgic, and the people who watch me today will be like, "How do people find this shit entertaining?" But yeah, smoking weed is way worse than being a child predator. It's a EDP, yeah, it is, and you essentially deserve the death penalty for smoking weed and not trying to um, have sex with a 13-year-old. I can confirm as a podhead. I used to be a podhead 7 years ago. I kind of miss those days, but at the same time, I'm fine not relying so much on weed. It's more of just a drug that I. It's more of just a drug that I smoke, when I'm with friends and during social gatherings and such. I usually hate parties, but the only reason I got through all the parties I went to with friends is because of the weed. That helped calm my nerves down a lot, because usually I hate being surrounded by people and you know in social situations where I'm around a bunch of people. No, that person was not me, but I thought I'd wait until when you stream to ask. Yeah, sure, go ahead and join. Preferably when I'm done with the stream, though, because I'm not looking at Discord right now, and I don't want my verification bot to kick you out. Hello, EcoPunk. How you doing? I know I'm not in your server, but I still watch your videos, and I appreciate that. It's been nice talking to you for as long as I have. Again, not many people from the Meverse days from 10 years ago I still talk to. Hardly any. More like just, again, you and Justin, and that's really about it. I'm actually surprised that Trump won. I thought Kamala was going to win. Yeah, it was definitely a rug that was pulled out from under a lot of people. A lot of people thought for sure Kamala was a shoo-in. But then again, people thought that about Hillary, and look how that ended up. I suppose a lot of people didn't learn their lesson from 2016. HBO Max is going to charge extra for password sharing soon. I knew that shit was going to happen. The minute Netflix started experimenting with that and people didn't push back against that enough, I knew other streaming services were going to adopt that as well. Because why the fuck wouldn't they? Well, I gotta tell my mom that because she shares HBO Max with a coworker. Well, not he's not a coworker anymore. He stopped working at her company like a year ago, but they still talk to each other and they're still friends. So I should probably tell her to stop letting him use our HBO Max account. I think your videos are very informative. Well, thank you. I don't really consider myself a source of news or anything. I mean, I just give my opinion on shit. I like watching my own videos. But personally, I'm entertained by my own videos, and I don't care how narcissistic that sounds. I watch a video of mine, and sometimes I'm like, I really nailed that. Let me pat myself on the back. I also like how much better I've gotten at speaking over the years. It might sound like I'm reading off a script in my newer videos, the videos I've been making for the past few years, but no, I don't script any of my videos. The only time I read off of something is when I'm reading an article. Perhaps my flat delivery comes from my autism, but no, I've never liked using scripts. Not to shame anyone who makes videos and does write scripts for them. If that suits them better than going off the cuff, then fine. But that was never my style. I never liked the idea of just reading off my phone or reading off my computer or hell, even just printing out paper and reading off of that or anything. No, never liked doing that. I just like winging it. Though I do usually have a good idea of what I'm going to say in my videos, so that's why I've pretty much everything I want to say in the video already in mind. So I guess you could say in a way I do have kind of a mental script, but there are plenty of times where in the middle of recording a video, I think of a new point I want to make that I wouldn't be able to do if I had already written a script beforehand. If Richard Nixon was forced to resign due to the Watergate scandal, then why didn't Trump being found guilty on all counts disqualify him from running for president? Because we have really regressed as a country. If you're rich and powerful enough, you have no consequences in this country for your actions, no matter how heinous and no matter how blatantly illegal. And people just accept that. They're like, yeah, I'll vote for the convicted felon because he promises to lower the price of my eggs, even though his tariffs will definitely sink the economy even further. When I found out Trump won, I had a lot of anger. I had a mix of a lot of anger, disgust, and sadness. Yeah, that was pretty much me too. Though, above all else, I was just really depressed when I looked at the results of the other night. It's like watching a horror show play out in real time. Hence why I titled my recent video The American Horror Show. I was trying to write some thing, but it kept getting cut off for some reason. That's why I retracted the messages. I don't think I saw your messages. Do the angry grunt again. It's funny. It's probably going to make me cough, but sure. See? Ew, farted too. Um, yeah. I don't know if it's as good as I don't know if that grunt was as good as it was in my older videos, but I tried. The 3DS camera was horrible. The 3DS camera sucks. It really does. It's bad. The 3DS camera sucks. It really does. That's really all I fucking said in that video. Oh, and I showed Charlie for a few seconds too. R.I.P. Still not over his death at all, and I never will be over his death. My favorite thing to eat when I'm high is Halloween candy and Taco Bell. We got candy for any trick or treaters that might have come, but no one came. So that candy was all for myself, and by candy I mean Kit Kats. That's all we got because that's my favorite chocolate, and we never get trick or treaters, so it ends up going to me. So why not get a chocolate that I really like? I'm good. That's good. I'm doing all right, all things considering. At this point, I think the only reason why Obama won was because Sarah Palin is crazy and no one gives a shit about Mitt Romney. Yeah, I mean, I was 9. Well, not 9. I was 7. I mean, during the 2008 election. So obviously, I wasn't paying attention to politics at all. But I remember going to vote, going with my uncle from Jersey to vote. Well, obviously, I didn't vote, but I went into the booth with them, and I got to see what it was like to vote. Well, I mean, by the time I was able to vote, they didn't have booths anymore, just tables to fill out your ballot on. Oh yeah, and that uncle I mentioned, he voted for Romney. He is a big time Republican. He's all in on the MAGA train. He's one of the he's a hardcore MAGA type. He's also one of the Hispanics that voted for Trump. And I say this as someone who thought Obama was one of the better presidents in recent years. Well, Obama in 2008 also just ran a really good campaign that focused on populist messaging and, addressed the economic concerns that people had in 2008, especially, after the recession you know, um, all the economic hardship people were going through at the time. He provided a glimmer of hope, even though he ended up being, just another corporate Democrat in office. But when it came to exciting people, he really delivered. If only he was able to deliver on that excitement when in office. But yeah. Sometimes I rewatch your comment waste bin videos because they were my favorite videos you posted as a kid. When I was a kid, uh, mainly because I used to be obsessed with bashing fan bases. Yeah, I mean, I'm well, I did do that James Rolfe fan base video, but it wasn't exactly the same as my old fan base bashing videos. I didn't title the video something like the AVGN fan base is stupid or anything. Um, I really just made that video because I got so many stupid comments under that AVGN video that obviously I wouldn't be able to get to all of those comments in one single regular comment waste bin video. So I decided to make that and go back to my roots a little bit, I suppose, even though I never really said anything like all James Rolfe fans are stupid or anything. Just the ones that commented under my video. I also sometimes watch your rants if they interest me. Sometimes, ew, that hurts. Just joking. LOL, nice grunt. Oh, thank you. I didn't think it was that good, but I'm glad you appreciated it at least. The AOL You've Got Mail guy passed away recently. Yeah, someone shared that in my server, or maybe it was you that shared it in my server. I think yesterday. That sucks. I remember watching some videos, some interviews that guy did, and talking about how he ended up being the You Got Mail voice. For the longest time, I thought that was just like a text to speech voice. I didn't know it was an actual dude's voice, but that was really cool that it was actually a real person doing that. That's so random. What's so random? After seeing your JD Vance video, I still can't believe he went through as vice president. Yeah, it really just goes to show that there are no standards in this country. You know, if someone as unpopular as JD Vance being on the ticket doesn't hurt your campaign at all. And I still maintain that JD Vance was an awful pick that did not resonate at all with voters because it was very clear that people didn't like Vance. They still liked Trump clearly, but Vance is still was very unpopular throughout the campaign. And like I said, I still maintain that Tim Walz was a very good VP pick that was just severely underutilized. And of course, the Kamala's campaign fumbled on progressive and populist messaging. I'm back, and yeah, sometimes I rewatch her old videos too. Yeah, I don't plan on taking down old videos anymore, unless YouTube takes some of them down. Which I mean, in that case, that would be out of my hands. And obviously, that wouldn't be me taking the videos down to my own accord. But yeah, I'm not really a fan when content creators purge their content, like Review Tech USA recently. He went completely off the deep end. I don't know the complete lore behind him. I just know that he had a falling out with his editor, refused to pay his editor for, I think, his final month. And that's been a big back and forth ever since, like, January or February. And overall, he's been focusing on his shitty streams where he talks about DSP for hours on end. Like, DSP is still a hot topic. I thought the last interesting thing that happened with DSP was him jacking off on stream, but apparently there's still a community of people who pay attention to him for some fucking reason. And Rich is one of them. Never had any interest in his stupid streams. It was only the news, the gaming news videos that interested me, and some of his drama content that interested me. That was my initial draw to his channel. I was watching him since I was around 12. Discovered him in 2013, I believe. Yeah, it was 2013. Um, yeah, it's really sad to see him go off the deep end because he was a YouTuber I really liked for a long time. And it's really sad that he deleted his channel. I don't know why. Like, a lot of people said that could have been just passive income for you if you planned on not uploading on the channel anymore. People still watched the videos, and those videos were still monetized. So you could have just, left the channel to rot, but still make a couple of $100 a month off the channel. And there goes like 5,000 videos or whatever he made on that channel. A lot of them probably lost to time now. Though I think a good chunk of his videos have been re-uploaded thanks to archive channels, which I appreciate. Why did you delete all of your streams from 2017 to 2019? Because one stream I did back in either 2017 or 2018 got taken down for hate speech. What was more than likely the case was I said probably the N word or the F slur or any other similarly awful slur. So I figured, those streams were probably would probably paint a target on my back, and YouTube would probably take down more of those streams, and I didn't want to risk more strikes, so I took them down. I didn't like taking those streams down, but I mean, if it if it oh, I gotta go to the store soon. But yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I just didn't want those streams giving me potentially another strike. Just had to be careful. There's been times when old favorite channels of mine were terminated and it sucked. Yeah, I mean, channels getting terminated sucks too. Well, I don't think a channel of mine I like has gotten permanently terminated. There have been some instances where channels I like get hacked and then they get terminated for a few days because the hacker was streaming like crypto scams and shit on the channel, which obviously is a violation of the community guidelines. But they usually ended up getting their channel back relatively soon. I remember seeing some guy with a Ronald McDonald profile pic spamming the N word in someone's chat while they were playing Minecraft. YouTube stream chats are insane. Yeah, and people who write in stream chats can be insane too. Like they spam the N word or other heinous shit because they think it's funny. I also saw multiple spammers saying "Let me touch you" on a teenage girl's stream. Well, that's legitimately disgusting. Yeah, I mean, like I said before, the internet has no shortage of disgusting people writing disgusting things or defending disgusting things. And unfortunately, the internet is the internet and it is filled with predators who will write shit like that in a minor's stream chat or comment section. It's funny, I saw his channel about a month before the channel getting deleted. Review Tech USA? Yeah, I unsubscribed from him sometime back in during the summer, like around July or August, because he just really went off the deep end, and I really didn't like the trajectory he was going in, and I wasn't a fan of his stream channel. I was never a fan of his streams, so I didn't tune into those. But he streamed on a separate channel, and that channel still exists. Um, but his main channel was pretty dormant, and I think for the last month or two of his channel's existence, he shifted his main channel's content to just being clips from his stupid streams. And again, I'm not a fan of his streams, so didn't watch the stream clips. So I was like, yeah, there's nothing on this channel anymore that entices me. And plus, again, Rich just for whatever reason has lost his mind, so I'm not paying attention to him anymore, and I'm unsubscribing. Um, I checked in on his channel a couple of times after that to see if the content has gotten any better, and lo and behold, it didn't, and he was still just melting down every stream from what I've observed from some clips people would upload onto YouTube. But yeah, again, it's unfortunate. I really liked that guy's content. A lot of people didn't like his content. They said he just regurgitated news articles, but I liked his humor. You know, a lot of video game news channels like to have this air of professionalism. And there are some other gaming news channels I like here on this site. Like for example, a channel called Mystic, though um, he doesn't cover Microsoft and Nintendo. He's primarily a PlayStation YouTuber, and he's like the only fucking PlayStation YouTuber on this website that isn't insufferable fanboy channel, so I appreciate him for that. But um, yeah, he didn't. His videos are good. I really like them. He does this weekly series where he covers PlayStation news, and I enjoy watching that. It's he uploads it every Friday, and I watched his latest installment right before this stream. And again, really like his videos, but I really liked Rich's content because he never pretended to be a professional YouTuber. He would make weird jokes in his videos, say weird shit, or do weird things like kiss a bird statue or some shit. And a lot of people thought that was cringe. And maybe it was a little cringe, admittedly, but I personally enjoyed it. You know, I, I, I like weird humor like that. So his content appealed to me. And again, he never even pretended to be a professional, but his channel's gone now. And I guess he's not going to be making that kind of content anymore. And instead opt to talk about DSP gaming for like 6 hours or whatever the fuck he does on his streaming channel these days. Oh, I hear sirens. Ooh. When's the next stream? I don't know. I assume sometime in December. I only do these once a month on a random Friday. I just felt like doing this stream today to let out some more negative thoughts I have surrounding the election and, also just talk to the chat and, in spite of talking about the election, try to get my mind off of the election a little bit and talk about whatever the fuck people in the chat want to bring up. 2017 was a great year for me, and I loved your videos back then too. I thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you for sticking around for so long. I know you've been around for a very long time, Robert. But yeah, 2017, I've said this plenty of times, was a really good year for me as well. That's when I was smoking weed a lot, so that had quite a bit to do with it. I gotta go soon. The stream's almost 2 hours. Yeah, I gotta go soon too. I gotta go to the store after this is done, so I'll end this at the 2 hour mark. Or 2 hour and 5 minutes mark. It depends on what on if I'll get more um messages here in the chat, but this stream is definitely going to end in 5 or 10 minutes, I'd say. I just hate how memed child predators are. Yeah, that's a little frustrating to me too. Child predators definitely are memed a little too much to the point where they're seen as more of a joke than, obviously being a child predator is extremely serious and something that should be condemned to hell and back, but a lot of people kind of treat being a child predator as a joke and make memes about it, and it kind of takes the seriousness out of being a child predator, and that's a little frustrating. I mean, maybe I've contributed to it a little bit because I've made jokes at EDP's expense, but I try not to go too hard on that these days because I understand that someone being a child predator is absolutely heinous and should not be taken lightly. It should not be joked about because these are children who are being preyed upon and they are victims, and being the victim of a child predator is an extremely traumatic experience for many people, and I'd rather not make light off of people's trauma. So yeah, I think a lot of child predator memes are pretty insensitive. Whenever someone prominent is exposed for being a child predator, you get a bunch of people in their comment section making jokes and clowning on them. And not to say I feel bad for the child predator, obviously. Absolutely not. They're a disgusting piece of shit. I don't have any regard for their feelings whatsoever. But still, I at the same time, for the sake of the victims at the receiving end, I don't really like making jokes about them, about what they've experienced all that much. Thankfully, I've never been the victim. Thankfully, I've never been preyed upon by any child predator. Though I did talk to someone for a few years when I was 12 and 13 who ended up being busted for possessing huge amount of child pornography. It's like, wow, take a wild guess who I'm referencing there. And people think it's edgy to say they're a groomer. Well, I don't really know what you mean by that. I don't really know anyone who's saying they're a groomer just to be edgy. I think if you say that, one, you should probably be put on a watch list, and two, that is stupid beyond belief because there's nothing cool and edgy, obviously, about being a child groomer. But anyway, moving on. Do you think gamer words need to change considering how offensive it could get? It can get. What do you mean by gamer words? You mean slurs? That'd be it'd be fine if more people took, slurs like the F slur, the N word, or the R word out of their vernacular. But unfortunately, a lot of people in society have no regards for the feelings of those who are on the receiving end of those slurs, especially the R slur. It's very frustrating that so many people on the left are still so insistent on saying the R slur when there have been so many people, who are disabled, either mentally or physically disabled, who say they don't appreciate the usage of that word and the normalization of that word on the left, within the online left. But still, so many people are insistent on still saying that word, and it's very frustrating. Even some content creators I personally enjoy, like Vosh. Yes, I still enjoy Vosh. Sue me. Though I still don't watch political commentary channels as much as I used to because of the stress of this election and now the fallout of the election. And honestly, just because of just how wrong so many political channels I enjoy got the election, you know, got with the election results, I mean. You had Kyle Kalinske, who was making a lot of videos about the polls, saying, "Oh my God, Kamala is surging in the polls. She has this in the bag." And then look what happened. Thank God I decided to not watch Kyle Kalinske's poll videos because I knew stressing over the polls was not good for my mental health. So therefore, I avoided a lot of videos talking about the polls. And in hindsight, with the polls being so wrong, I made the right decision. I would have only been setting myself up for even bigger disappointment than I felt on election night. Anyway, bye, Michael, Mikey. Have a good one. Oh, see you bother me none. Speaking of predators, OBA was never heard from again. Good riddance. Yeah, if he didn't come back when his probation was up, he is definitely not coming back, which is for the better because I don't think anyone would care about, what a child predator, or rather someone who possessed so much child pornography, has to say. I mean, how would he even respond to that? Like, there is no coming back from that. So it's for the better that he never comes back. Or who knows, maybe someday he'll be like, you know what, I kind of miss doing that YouTube shit I used to do 10 years ago. Let me randomly come back and talk about Switch news. That would be funny if he just comes back and it's business as usual without acknowledging what happened. I should drive to him and pay him a visit. Oh, I thought you were leaving. I appreciate you sticking around, even after saying you were dipping. And you just mentioned him, LOL, original Blood Ace. Yeah. Alan Lichtman was dead wrong this year, and I hope I never have to hear about that guy ever again. Never heard about him before this election cycle. Then all of a sudden, a bunch of libs coping over Biden's dismal polling were like, well, I want to listen to Alan Lichtman because he hasn't gotten a presidential election wrong since I think the 80s, and the only election he got wrong was the 2000 election, which had a lot of fuckery which had a lot of fuckery happen. So it's understandable why he got that election wrong. But other than that, his uh his election predictions have been rock solid. No one can predict. This election proves that no one can definitively predict what happens on election night. I hate hedging my bets on these polls that obviously can't precisely predict what will definitely happen in the future, because no one has a fucking crystal ball to look into the future and say this candidate will definitely win the election. So stop hedging your bets on hacks that say, "Oh, I'm the definitive predictor of who is going to win a presidential election," when they are just as clueless as anyone else, and this election more than proved that. Do you still watch TJ Kirk, the Amazing Atheist? I'm still subscribed to him, but he has been on he for the past like year and a half. He was on this really annoying anti-electoral arc, and I didn't really and I wasn't really a fan of that, so I kind of tuned out of his content ever since, and I still don't really watch him. I watched his reaction video though to the election results the other night, so I did watch that. But aside from that, I haven't watched TJ at all in the past, like, I don't know, year or so, aside from like some videos here and there. And he made this stupid video earlier this year talking about Bernie Sanders being a sellout because he urged people to vote for Biden because he knew the risks of a potential second Trump term. So that really put a bad taste in my mouth as well. And yeah, I don't hate TJ. I might still watch videos from him here and there, but I'm not like a super fan, and I don't watch him religiously. Religiously, the irony of saying that regarding the Amazing Atheist. Anyway, like I used to when I was a teenager. He was back in 2016. He was the only anti-SJW channel I really liked watching, mostly because he wasn't like hardcore right like a lot of other anti-SJWs were. I was more of an edgy lib back then, and he was more of an edgy lib back then too. So his content resonated with me better than say like Sargon of Akkad or anyone else who was popular back then. I liked watching TJ's videos about Justin Bieber. Yeah, those are nostalgic. I think one of his Justin Bieber rants was the first rant I've ever seen from him back when I was like 10 or 11. June the King is releasing an Amazing Atheist video soon. Oh, is he? Is TJ a lol count now? I don't really keep up with him that much these days, so I don't really know much of what's been going on with him lately. Since I know that guy usually makes documentary on lol cows or whatever the fuck, like Review Tech USA and such. Anyway, yeah, 2 hours and 7 minutes. That's past my usual 2 hours and 5 minutes I stream, so that's it. I got to go to the store anyway. I got to help my uncle. Again, he dislocated his shoulder, so he only has one arm that he can function, and the other is in a splint. So I got to help him shop. Anyway, thank you all for being here. The stream was a lot of fun, and you kind of helped ease my nerves just a little bit regarding the catastrophic election night. And while I am still sour about the results, talking to all of you helped get my mind off of that for a little bit and help me feel a little better. So I appreciate that. Anyways, I already said this, but thank you all for being here. It's a lot of fun always talking to you, talking to all of you in these streams. And thank you to everyone who was here previously who are not here now. Again, I appreciate everyone who tunes into these streams, no matter how long they tune into them for. Anyway, next stream will be sometime in December, I suppose. And now, before I go out, I gotta make my bed. Anyway, see ya.